Thank you, Madam Chairman. Director Culver, we talked before about the need for common sense approach in terms of producing more energy for this country. And obviously, producing more energy is a big part of addressing the inflation challenge this country has. An example of that common sense approach is legislation I've put forward, S4227, which is the BLM Mineral Spacing Act. Essentially, what it says is, or provides, is that it ends duplicate permitting. And what we've got going on right now for wells, where BLM, for oil wells, where BLM has no surface ownership of the land. They have no surface ownership of the land. So this is private land. And then they have a minority interest in the minerals. So not a majority, a minority interest in the minerals. So now you've got a situation where somebody owns the land, they own a majority of the minerals under the land, they want to drill a well, and they're being held up on getting a permit by the BLM when they have no surface ownership and a minority interest in the minerals. And so in the state of North Dakota, we permit wells much faster than the federal government. So we might permit a well in, say, 14 days. They might sit there, though, however, for 6 months or longer. Maybe not even get a permit, being held up by the BLM. So so this legislation would say you don't have to do that duplicate. In that situation, the state can go ahead and permit the well. Isn't that the kind of common sense approach we're going to need to cutting through some of this regulatory burden if we're going to address our needs for more energy produced here at home?
Thanks for the question, Senator Hoeven. In terms of the regulatory burden, the BLM has been making progress on improving our permitting time, and we have issued quite a few permits in this administration, about 4,700 since we started, and over 2,000 of those are in that situation where it is not federal surface. So I think we are handling the processing of the permits in a good time frame. We have developed guidance that helps us tailor these processes in situations like the ones you're discussing, where it's private surface and it might not be majority federal minerals. At the same time, it is important to us, and in our role as the steward of the public lands and managing public minerals, to ensure that we are complying with potential impacts of these actions, and to take that into account and to ensure that the Secretary of the Interior and as a result the BLM are issuing permits in those situations.
Well, you say you're making progress, yet right now in this country, we were producing 13 million barrels of oil a day. We're down to 11 and a half. In my state of North Dakota, we were at 1.5 million barrels a day. We're down, last I checked, closer to 1 million barrels a day. The price at the pump is $5 on average across this nation, going up. Do you consider that adequate process in terms of helping our consumers at the pump?
Well, I think from the perspective of the Bureau of Land Management, the Department of the Interior, and the amount of the production that we manage, we are at all-time highs of production on public land. So I do think we are doing our part. We are in a situation where the president has been encouraging companies to produce, to look at prices. We have not seen that our production is actually affecting prices right now. As I'm sure you've heard us say, there are more than 9,000 permits available and ready for use for the industry when they are ready to use them, as well as about 12.5 million acres of land that aren't even in production. So
you think at a time when the country is producing less oil and gas, not more, when the price at the pump, I think on average is about $4.85 a gallon, when the president is going to places like Saudi Arabia and asking for more oil from Venezuela, that you don't need to take steps to help produce more energy here at home. That's what you're telling me.
What I'm saying is that the Bureau of Land Management, the Department of the Interior, are supporting record levels of production on the public lands. We are processing permits. We have millions of acres that are under lease that can be produced. So that's what I'm saying. But
the whole point is they can't be produced if they can't get a permit. You've got to get a permit to drill. So you and other members of the administration say, oh, well, they have leases on federal lands. Yeah, but they're either held up by the court or held up by you and other agencies because they can't get a permit to drill. So that's not accurate to say they can produce more. They can't. You say, well, oh, they have these leases, but if they're held up by the courts or by your bureaucracy and red tape, they can't drill, which is why we're producing less energy in this country and why the prices are high and going higher, and that hurts every single consumer. And you're telling me, no, you don't need to do anything different.